Hi, I'm Bill Lancaster, and I'm going to be your host for this video on sanding. Sanding is not one of those things we just love to do. It's something we like the results of it, but not necessarily the activity of it. So we try to get various things that will make it faster and easier and better, and try to make smooth surfaces without any dings or grooves in them. And so we try to do that, and that's what I try to do. And I have been to a friend's house to see how he does it, and I've taken a class in it, and I've been doing it for years, but I try to learn something better. And just one of those things that I can't quite seem to get perfected. So for a long time, I was trying to do nothing but slicing tools on the lathe to get a nice smooth surface. But I'm coming back now to trying to do the scrapers and the negative rake scrapers at that, because everybody does negative rake scrapers, and I have taught negative rake scrapers in the past, and so that's what we're doing. And so what I've done is I've got a new one. This is the D-way, and it has two ends to it. So one end for the inside of a bowl and one for outside. I'm sure it has. I got a handle to go with it. So that's one tool we can use, but I've got others, and I've got all my scrapers now pretty well ground to a negative rake, and I think I've got another video on sharpening a negative rake. Here's a very good negative rake. This is my favorite. That's not my favorite. Anyway, this is a good thick negative rake. And the negative rake is ground to 70 degrees on the bottom and 20 on the top. You want to make sure that the 70 and the 20 add up to something 90 degrees or less. So what I'm going to be working on is this bowl, and you saw me make this on the last video in a thing called form follows the wood. So we'd love to be able to produce something that's just from the outset what we want, but sometimes the wood hands us difficulties that we have to deal with. So that one had had this bark spot on it, and also this chainsaw cut. So I just kind of made those into features, and now we're going to try to do some sanding on it. I don't know if you can see this, but right here and right there are two little hump spots, and I need to try to get those sanded or turned down. I'm going to try using the negative rakes on those. This bowl might have warped a bit in the last 2 weeks because it was a fairly wet piece of wood to begin with, so it may not lend itself to doing the scraping. And then on the inside, you'll see these ridges here in the center. I've got to get rid of those, and here on the edges too. So it's difficult using any kind of metal tool on these edges because they will vibrate. The edge will vibrate and give you chatter marks. So we're going to try to do some sanding with that. Now I've got some nice new tools. That little spot right there is CA glue I had to put into a crack. I've got some nice tools to try to do this with, and this is one of the newest. I like to have machinery that does things, and so this is what they call a close angled drill, which I can use for sanding. And this has a keyless chuck on it, and I put an extension on it, so I can put this on the tool rest while it's spinning, and get that pad up in there better. The thing about using a drill before is that what I found is that that thing juggles around like this so much so you can't control it. But with the tool rest, I should be able to control it. And this is a nice robust tool rest with a very, very hard rod along it, and that's a hard rod. So I have waxed both of those to try to get them to let the tool spin. Now I've got a lot of other things that I've used over the years. This is just a pad. You buy it at Lowe's. It has Velcro on the bottom, and you can put sandpaper in the Velcro. And I buy this sandpaper from Klingspor. That's a 400 grit. It comes in a roll like this at the right width. That's a 320 grit. So you just cut the pieces that you need for that, or you can buy certain grits, but not all of them, from Lowe's. There's an 80 and a 120 and a 220, and that's about as high as it goes. So that I've used that for years for the outside of a bowl, either here with it spinning forward or there with it spinning backwards. If you spin the lathe backwards, you've got to be very, very careful not to spin the chuck off the spindle, because that will crash down and break your bowl and make a mess. So make sure you keep an eye on it. You can even put the lives there in there if you want to keep that from happening. Another new thing I've gotten is this hand pad. You can put this is a 3-inch sandpaper disc on it that are Velcro backed. Put that on it to do the outside of the hand sand stuff. Here's a rounded thing that you can use with the Velcro connections, and hand sand the inside. You can get these discs that go up to, this is like this is a 5-inch disc, but this is kind of the normal stack. I've got 80 grit up to, I can go as high as 800, but I usually go up to 400 grit, and I just use it on a stick. This is a plain old stick. But the good thing about the stick is you can put it right on the tool rest, like that, and hold it steady. The speed of the thing is controlled by the speed of the lathe. This stays absolutely stationary. This is a Sorby Sandmaster, and it spins, and it's powered by the wood itself. So you put this on the bottom of the bowl, and you get it spinning by the action of the bowl itself and the lathe, and then you can sand with it. On this, you never have really figured out how this thing works, but that's the thing that a lot of people use. And also new, I got these pads that are. This is a flexible one, and then have a stiff one. And these sanding rectangles you get with it, and they are ProNet. They're not quite like sandpaper. They're more like the nets that you can get to sand with. And then I've got a bunch of stuff over here. You know, you just get stuff over the years. And so this is a handy little compartment holder that Vince's Wooden Wonders sells. And I have all the mandrels in here and different discs. This is all the 2-inch stuff, different pads and discs to go up to 800 grit. But this is a handy thing to keep things organized and easy to find. I have a 3-inch and I have a 2-inch one of those. So that's pretty much what we've got to work on and with. And I'm going to turn this video off right now and get things set up for actually doing the work in just a minute. So see you in a while. Well, folks, as they say, the best laid plans of mice and men oft go astray. So we've had that happen to us here, and I'll show you what's happened. The bowl in the 2 weeks since I first turned it has dried out and become oval. So I'll show you a problem we have. I'm going to look right down here at where the tool rest joins the bowl. I'm going to turn the bowl around. And you see it's touching right there. But as I turn the bowl, there's about a 1/4 of an inch gap right there between the tool rest and the wood surface. And then you come on around And right where that chainsaw cut is, it would have contacted again, but it didn't, because it missed there. But keep going, and you'll see that it comes back to the tool rest again. So the problem is, if we try to use the negative rate scraper, we're going to be going fast. It's going to hop from a high spot over a ways and then reconnect with the wood, and it's just not going to give a very good surface. So we're going to try sanding it. And I have to turn the lathe very, very slowly to do that. And I'm going to use one of these paddles with the hard paddle and a 60 grit sandpaper on it to try to get it to do right. So here we go. I'm going to take the tool rest off. Oh, remember all your good safety rules here. You got to have a face shield, a dust mask, no jewelry, no watches, no rings, no long sleeves, no long hair. Wood turners always have the right to bear arms. Haha. So there you go. Anyway, so let's try sanding the outside of this, and I'm going to turn the lathe on slow so the sandpaper will go in and out as the bowl changes its shape. So here we go. Put this thing on the camera stand. And get it headed down to where I need it to be. Right about there. Now I'm going to run the lathe it. Oh, very, very slowly. That's about 64. That's about as slow as it will actually tell me what the speed is. We don't want to get the tool rest between near the bowl where our fingers can get caught in it. So I'm going to use this new pad. It's hard, and I'm going to look here but sand there to try to get this thing to do, and the sandpaper is going to go in and out with the bowl. I would turn on the dust collector, but it's very noisy, so I'm not sure that it's going to do right. It might make it hard for you to hear. This, you know, in the end, we might end up having to go to hand sanding. That's not so unusual. Really good wood turners hand sand, and you just have to do what you have to do. You put the bowl in your lap, between your knees, hold on to it, and hand sand it. But this is sanding. I can see it doing the turning that lump down. Let's have a look at it. Okay, need some more. See what's happening with the sandpaper? I'm going to blow it off. Well, that is working, so I'm not going to keep you on watching this while I go through these various grits, because I'm going to have to do that all on the outside. So let's look at the inside now, and I think we're going to try this this drill contraption I've got on the inside and see if we can get it to do right. We get the this robust tool rest. Robust puts these hard metal edges on them so that they will not dent. Now, I think I can use the negative rate scraper there. Let's see if I can do it. Here we go. Get it. Now we have to go a little bit faster, but I can get this negative rake in there and try to take out some of that stuff. Then we're going to sand. That's a little, almost 600. A light touch. That was good. I can feel the scraper going in and out a little bit, but that's getting those ridges out. I've got another one right here. The negative rake is so much better than a regular scraper. It's just so forgiving. So I invite you to try a negative rake. I think everybody should have one in their arsenal. Okay, it's getting better. I'm going to take a little bit more out. Now, I don't think I can do the negative rate scraper on the inside of this rim right in here, because it's going to have the same problem. It's going to be in and out. So I'll have to turn it slowly and use the sandpaper on it. Hang on. I'm going to try the new machine, however, for this, and we need to put a 80 grit sandpaper on it. Get a new 80 grit. Okay, here's a new 80. This is a 2-inch mandrel, 2-inch mandrel with a 2 3/8 inch sanding disc on it. Okay, now we're going to run this lathe very slowly. That's about 80, and try to get this in here at an angle. I've got this little remote control for the dust collection. It doesn't control the switch on the dust collection itself. It controls the outlet. It has an electric outlet with a battery in it, I think, and you control it with this little device. I have another one for the vacuum chuck, but that's how I turn on the dust collection. Now let's have a look at this thing. Well, it's coming along, you see, but in here, I've got those grooves, and you can expect to see them on the side grain part of the bow, and on the end grain here, it's doing a little bit better, but that's not great. So I'm going to let you go. I'm going to do a lot of sanding on this, but you see the tools I've got to use, and and how I might go about doing this. So I'll let you go now, and nobody wants to watch somebody sand the whole thing out, I'm sure. I need to work on this rim some. But you see those grooves in there. That's have to go away. And you know, I may end up having to hand sand. This is not looking too bad. It's better. I can still see the ridges, but that's always the case in the person doing the job. You always can see what you don't want others to see. And they say that the difference between an artist and an amateur is that the artist never tells where he made his mistakes. So anyway, there you go. I'm gonna turn you off and get this camera out of the holder here. So that's how we're gonna have to do it. And if I end up holding it between my knees to hand sand it, that's the way it is. So anyway, hope you got something out of this video, and we'll see you next time.